For those that have joined us, we are experiencing some minor technical difficulties. We will have video in just one moment. Is your video on? Okay, folks, you will likely shortly be able to turn your videos on. There we are. We're ready to go then? Not a problem. Right. All right, folks, welcome once again to the 29th session of council. We have been in closed session for the previous hour. The two items under closed session were approval of the minutes of the previous closed session and receiving advice that's subject to solicitor-client privilege with regard to the Amherst Island Second Concession Road. And council provided direction to staff for that item. For tonight's meeting, there is no open forum. There's no public meeting or notices of public meeting. So we look to item number 5, the confirmation of the agenda. We have one addition to the agenda that was emailed out earlier. It's a report from Ms. McFarland, and she will be available to speak to it as we come to that item. Do we have any other additions to the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda? Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Buderick. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof? And while I'm at it, I'm out of order, but I should do a roll call because we are in the electronic version. I'll start with Deputy Mayor.
Present.
And Councillor Porter.
Present.
Councillor Buderick.
Present.
Councillor Townend.
Present.
And Councillor Parks. And Councillor Gordon indicated earlier that he would not be available for tonight's meeting. We also have present, of course, our clerk, our CAO, the directors, and a number of supervisors and managers that are available to answer questions if they're needed. Going forward, under agenda item 11, 11.1, solid waste collection, the non-competitive procurement process agreement. We have a report from Ms. O'Neill, and we have Ms. McFarland available for questions if needed. Are there any questions with regard to this report? Seeing none, Ms. McFarland, do you have anything to add to this report at this time?
Not at this time.
Thank you. And then I look to council for a motion. Deputy, so moved. Councillor Porter seconds. And Deputy Mayor, any comment? Councillor Porter, any comment?
No.
Anyone else? Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. We move to section 12, Community and Customer Services Department.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes,
I believe we missed item 7.1, the adoption of the minutes.
we did. My apologies. Let's go back to that. I'm surprised the clerk wasn't yelling at me. Item 7.1, the confirmation of the minutes of the 28th session of regular council on May 11th. We have the minutes before us. Are there, and thank you for the reminder, are there any noted errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing none, can I get a motion for the approval? Deputy, seconded by Councillor Parks. And I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you for that reminder. So now we are actually on item 12.1, the agreement for construction and maintenance of the county roads and bridges. We have a report from Mr. Adams, and we have Ms. Merritt in the audience if there's questions. Does council have questions with regard to this report? Seeing none, Ms. Merritt, do you have any comments to add to it at this time?
No, Mr. Mayor, but I believe Ms. McFarland might have something to add.
I went to the wrong director. My apologies. Ms. McFarland, do you have anything to add to this report?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. So we have the report before us with a recommendation to enter into the agreement with Lennox County of Lennox and Addington. And do I have a mover for this? Councillor Buderick, seconded by Councillor Parks. Councillor Buderick, any comments? Seeing none.
No.
Councillor Parks. Councillor Parks, anything? Anyone else? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And moving to item 12.2 in Ms. McFarland's department. Loyalist Days in Loyalist Township. It's an excellent initiative brought forward through a report from Ms. Cormier. And again, we have Ms. McFarland for questions. Council, do you have any questions with regard to this report? Seeing none. Ms. McFarland, do you have anything to add to it at the moment?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. I'll look for a motion. Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Porter. Mover, any comments?
God save the Queen.
Councillor Porter, any comments? Nothing. Anyone else have comments or questions with regard to this? I would like to extend my appreciation to the staff within the department for organizing this. It's Loyalist Township celebrating Loyalist Days has been a long time coming. It's very, very key, and especially this year when we have such limited opportunities to celebrate. I think this will be very positive. So, did I have a mover and seconder? I did. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 12.3, the update on the Blue Box transition to full producer responsibility. We have a report right on the bottom here from Mr. Galloway. And I believe both Ms. McFarland and Mr. Scott are in the audience to answer any questions. Do we have any questions with regard to this report at this time? Seeing, nope. Deputy, go ahead.
Just a clarification question. This recommendation was requested by AMO, who's working with the province. So I just didn't see it in the report. Are we directing this to the government or are we directing it back to AMO?
Ms. McFarland, is the intention to send this resolution to AMO and to the government, or just one or the other?
Mr. Mayor, I'll defer to Mr. Scott to see if he could answer that. I apologize. I'm not sure if it's going to both or just to one.
Thank you. Mr. Scott, are you in the room? There you are. Are you able to answer that?
Just looking at it right now, but I believe we would be responding to both AMO and ministry.
And thank you very much. That's satisfactory, Deputy?
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions? This will represent a significant transition when it starts to occur with our Blue Box programs, but I think it's an important step to ensure that we continue the good path on the climate change and waste reduction. So again, glad to see this coming forward. Okay. And do I have a mover? Everybody. I'll go with the Deputy Mayor. Seconder. Councillor Buderick, you were first. Mover comments?
No, just glad to see this happen and thanks to staff for preparing it.
And Councillor Buderick, second comments?
Just fantastic that it's getting done finally. It's great.
Thank you. And anyone else wish to make comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And I just received a reminder that we do have the addition to the agenda. We have a report from Ms. McFarland. It was emailed out to council earlier this afternoon, I believe. Ms. McFarland, you're available to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to apologize for the late addition. The decision was made after the agenda had been published, so I apologize that you received it so late.
No need to apologize. I was part of that decision-making process and wanted it to come to council tonight. Thank you.
The report just outlines the decision that we at the Emergency Control Group made to suspend all in-person recreation programs and facility bookings until the fall of 2020. It was made with the safety and the health and the well-being of our staff and community as our highest priority. It was a very difficult decision because we're very proud of the services, the recreation services that we provide to our community. But based on a number of factors, we felt that this was the best decision to make at this time. We looked at the size of the facilities to determine the numbers that we could have for summer camps. We looked at the number of staff that would be required to provide the recommended ratio of participants to staff for the summer camps. The need for parents to have planning time for an alternative to summer camps. We looked at the ability to continue the Lionheart program. That program in Amherst-View the uptake for that program has been huge. Since the beginning of May, we've handed out over 1,700 meals through that program. And if we were to do summer camps, it's out of that location. So the logistics of us being able to continue that would have been very difficult. We looked at additional staff and costs to install and maintain summer ice with no definitive timeline if it would be able to be utilized or not. We also looked at the time frame that organizations would need to utilize the facilities in order to have seasons in terms of the sports fields, the usage of the sports field. Many of our user groups identified they would need to have them in the beginning of June or the beginning of July. We only had one that was after the middle of July for August. So without any definitive timelines on when team activities could occur, it's very difficult to continue on and look at ramping up additional staff that we have not hired because of the service levels that we're currently doing right now and how quickly we could do that. And without the knowledge of when the current gathering limitations would be reduced, we felt that this was the best decision for the municipality and for our public to keep staff and participants safe. We also looked at loss revenue and a number of the different costs that would be impacted and would have to be borne by our taxpayers, especially if we didn't have a lot of uptake in our day camps that would be offered, and there would only be limited space. There's a brief attached to the report that was sent out. There is a brief summary that we were able to put together through our finance, that this decision, conservative estimates, is that it will not cost the township any money to cease these services for the summer, and that we're estimating about a $24,000 savings above what we currently have budgeted. That is a brief rundown of what is in the report.
Thank you, Ms. McFarland. Council, do you have any questions with regards to this report? Councillor Porter.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I do have a question. In the report, I just have to find it, excuse me. It says in the report that we're still receiving 100% of federal funding for 2 recreation summer students. And it goes on to say the full funding of these 2 summer positions will allow the municipality to offer virtual programming. Can you just clarify that? Does that mean we're hiring our current staff to run the virtual programs?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, sorry, that was one piece that I forgot to mention. Most of our current recreation staff are being redeployed to assist in other departments right now. The funding that we received for the government is for summer student hiring, and we would utilize those 2 summer student positions to develop and offer a virtual program to the community, because it's important that we are able to provide a service to our community and to keep our community engaged. So the being able to utilize that funding for those summer students would allow us to still run those virtual programs.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ensure that's what I was reading correctly. If I may continue, Mr. Mayor?
Please.
So in the report, it states that we're going to lay off all the part-time recreation staff. And then it goes on to say that many of the full-time rec staff are being redeployed. Is there any full-time being laid off? Or are all of the full-time rec staff being deployed? Can you just clarify that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, all of our part-time staff was laid off. They were laid off in March when we closed the pool and the leisure center. All of our part-time staff, instructors, and CSR staff were laid off at that time. And the plan is not to bring those staff back until we're able to offer our recreation programs again. The full-time staff, all of them are being redeployed to other tasks, but some of them will still be spending some time on the recreation plans. So a lot of plans have to be developed for when we open again. So they'll be spending some time on that. They'll be spending some time on making sure that our website project, that those pages are completed and are ready to go, and we're going to meet those timelines. So some of their time will still be spent doing those programs in the background. The majority of their time will be redeployed to other assisting in other departments.
Okay, thank you. And just one last question. I know that your the projected net financial impact is for the period of June 1st to August 31st. Now, our rec facilities have been closed since mid-March. Is that around mid-March? So essentially, our recreation services are going to be closed for 6 months of the year, which is half a year. And our rec budget makes up a significant portion of our overall budget. And I'm just wondering, we're showing a net gain basically of only $20,000. And so I just like you to give a little bit as opposed to laying them off.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Part of Councillor Porter's comments were lost. I didn't get to hear all of her questions. So the last part, if she wouldn't mind repeating that, it was very broken.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, having the recreation facilities in our municipality closed for essentially half a year, and given that our rec budget is a good substantial portion of our overall budget, going to save more than $20,000. Just wondering why and how was the decision made to redeploy rec staff as opposed to laying them off?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. There are a number of tasks within other departments that we're taking this opportunity to utilize that staff, that full-time staff to have those tasks completed that otherwise may not be completed at this time, and in lieu of laying the full-time staff off. We have looked at all of that, and our decision to redeploy them was so that we could continue, allow them to do all of those other tasks, but still have them available to us for when we go to reopen, so that those plans can be completed and can be ready to go for when we open the doors. That was the choice there. The other savings, I believe there was a report that finance did that covered from March until I think it was March and April. I'm trying to remember the exact time frame that covered the township as a whole. And I believe there is another report scheduled to come to council that shows the whole impact on the municipality based on the COVID emergency. We are also utilizing arena staff to maintain the parks right now as well. As part of redeploying some full-time staff, we are utilizing them to do that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Porter and Ms. McFarland. Are there any other questions with regards to this report? So there is a recommendation just to receive for information the detail primarily about the closure of the rec programs until the end of the summer. Do I have a motion to approve that, to receive that? Councillor Townend, second by Councillor Porter. Councillor Townend, do you have any comments? You're muted, Councillor Townend. We can't hear you. Thank you. Go.
There we go. I think the clerk was trying to unmute me as I was trying to unmute myself. No, I just wanted to thank Ms. McFarland for the report and you know, to offer sympathies to senior staff. I know this was an incredibly difficult decision. It's not easy. Nothing about this pandemic has been easy. And I think the decisions that have been made in the best interest of everybody involved. And I'd like to see the retention of as many staff as possible, precisely to be able to support those people, first of all, and be able to have the adequate resources to put our programming back on track when we're able to.
Thank you. Councillor Porter, you're the seconder. Would you like to comment?
No.
Anyone else have comment? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. I'll get myself back to. Sorry. We are at 14.1, Economic Growth and Community Development Services Department. We have sewage system permits and inspections. We have a report from Mr. Parkinson, and I believe Mr. Parkinson's here, as well as Ms. Merritt. Right. Do we have anything to, does either Mr. Parkinson or Ms. Merritt have anything to add to this at this time?
No, Your Worship. No, sorry. Sorry, Mark.
And thank you. Mr. Parkinson?
Nothing to add at this time. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any member of council have a question with regard to the report? Councillor Porter.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CBO. At one time, council used to get a regular monthly report in regards to permits, permit value, number of permits issued, and most importantly, the report that showed our percentage of meeting the regulatory requirements under the building code. I have not seen that report in a long time, and I'm just wondering if that's going to be something we bring back in short order. And I'm not sure if we haven't seen that because of the COVID-19 situation, or because I can't remember the last time I did see that on a council agenda.
Thank you.
I can answer that. The reports have been made. I'm not sure why they've not made it to the agenda, but they are available, and I can make them available by email to all the councillors if they wish to get them. Ashley McPherson has been making them regularly to council.
And thank you. Good point, Councillor Porter. And I will ask that those reports be sent out to all members of council and included in future agendas. Anything with regard to sewage inspection? And this is a significant change for our permitting system. Currently, the health unit has been doing this for many years. And with us taking this over in January of 2021, we will see some changes. Okay. Did I have a mover? Not yet. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Porter, so moved. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Councillor Porter, any comments?
Yeah, it's a very welcome change. I think for the most part, most municipalities had left it in the hands of the local health unit to do. There were some municipalities that were doing it themselves. So it's encouraging to see that our municipality is taking over that. And I think it's going to give continuity of service to the development community and be a benefit to the construction industry.
Thank you. Seconder comment?
Just simply that I think this is going to be a benefit, is be able to streamline the process even further and It's already in the budget for this year, so all the education and the hirings are already included. And that will mean that at the end of the year, we've got the expertise in-house to be able to go forward with it.
Absolutely. And anyone else? Seeing none, back to the mover for final. No. And I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Moving to 14.2, the Heritage Committee meeting minutes of December 3rd, January 15th, Feb 4th, and March 3rd. We have a recommendation from Ms. Hay, a report from Ms. Hay, and a recommendation with 4 parts. And is there any comment from the department at this time? I see Ms. Furness has come in.
No, Your Worship.
Thank you. Council, do we have any questions with regard to this report? And Deputy, I think I saw your hand and then you disappeared. And I see you're still with us. Okay.
Wrong button. I am technically challenged. I would request separation for recommendation number 3.
Okay. And so we'll deal with number 3 after the fact. And is there any other questions or comments with regards to this? With that request for separation, I'll then seek a motion to receive the report and adopt 1, 2, and 4. Councillor Townend, seconded by Councillor Parks. Councillor Townend, any comment?
Yeah, just my thanks to the Heritage Committee for the work they've done so far, and to say that it's been a pleasure being the chair of the committee, very briefly, of course, before COVID hit. And I look forward to when we're able to resume our responsibilities.
Thank you. Councillor Parks, further comment? Nothing? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Now I'll look for a motion with regard to the 3rd recommendation. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I'd move to receive and refer back to the Economic Development Community, Economic Growth and Community Development Services Department for additional information as to the benefit of enforcing this requirement on property owners. And I'll speak to it if it's seconded.
Okay, do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Porter. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, just in reading the report and the minutes, I would just like a little more clarification as to what the benefit is to the township of requiring this. I don't want it to be seen as using enforcement for conflict resolution. I'd like to have a little more information and what the benefits are to the township. It may very well be a great program to move ahead with this requirement. Just I'd like to have a few more questions answered and ensure that it's a benefit.
Thank you. Seconder, comment?
Yeah, no, I agree with the deputy mayor. I think more information is needed, and I agree that you don't hand out a grant and say only if, unless there's absolute necessity and a value of doing that.
Thank you. And the clerk, we have clarity on the motion. Thank you. Do we have anyone else that wishes to speak to it? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, thank you. Moving forward, emergency services, communications. Are there any notices of motion or direct motion at this time? No one? Okay, then we move to the consent agenda and my longest speech of the night. For the purpose of convenience and for expediting meetings, matters of business that are repetitive or routine in nature are included in the consent agenda. All such matters of business contained in the consent agenda are voted on collectively. A particular matter of business may be singled out from the consent agenda for debate or for separate vote upon request of any member of council. In the case of a separate vote, the excluded matter of business is severed from the consent agenda. Each and every matter of business contained in the consent agenda is recorded separately within the minutes of the meeting. Is there anything from any member of council that they wish to extract from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Councillor Buderick, second by Councillor Porter. Mover, any comments? Seconder, any comments? Anyone else? Then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. That brings us to members' privilege. Is there anything under members' privilege from any member of council? Councillor Parks.
Sorry, I just got to find it. I just wanted to acknowledge the passing of June Carruthers, who was a longtime resident of the Village of Bath and former clerk of the village. She passed away recently, and while I didn't know her personally, I've heard lots of wonderful things about her on the Facebook page of the Village of Bath. I also wanted to acknowledge that Karen McKenzie has retired, I guess, from her position at the Bath Museum. And I'm not sure if they've found someone to take over that position yet or not, but she has educated many children at Bath Public School about the area and the museum also. And I also just wanted to say a big thank you to the stores here in the village that have been dealing with residents and helping residents out and supporting them by delivering groceries, getting notices out when there's new hand sanitizer in the village. It's been great to see that support in the community. That's all.
It was my turn to get the finger to the ear. Does anyone else wish to bring forward anything under members' privilege? And I can't repeat enough and echo the words of Councillor Parks. The businesses and the community members across the entire township have been absolutely wonderful through this. New ways of doing business and people helping people. It's been wonderful to see through this very difficult time. And with that, there's nothing else under members' privilege. Our upcoming meeting dates, we do have a Committee of Adjustment meeting scheduled for June the 1st. We have our regular council scheduled for June the 8th and June the 22nd. All at this point to be done electronically. And the CAO is flagging me. Yes. My apologies, June 9th. I read June 8th. Yeah. Apparently that's June 9th. Okay. Moving forward to the confirmatory bylaw. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Townend, seconded by the Deputy Mayor. Any comments? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. And can I get a motion for adjournment? And Councillor Buderick, seconded by Councillor Porter. Right. Call the question. All those in favor? Hey, we are adjourned, folks. Thank you very much. And once again, everyone that's watching, thank you very much for your patience with us as we deal with the some of the intricacies of the technology. And I'm actually quite pleased. The staff have done an amazing job in getting all of this organized. And believe it or not, council's doing a great job in staying connected when this is not necessarily their forte, but we've really appreciated all of the efforts and the extra effort involved in it. So with that, I'll say have a good night, folks, and we'll see you at the next meeting.